good, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Cover One Film Room. I'm one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined, as always, by Eric Turner. Eric, fresh new intro again that we brought back. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And we got a lot to break down. Like, it was an important week, and the buzz that everyone is talking about, it's October, so I changed my background. I got the Halloween-themed garland.
All right.
Pumpkin,
Oh, I
little
like the
trees
color
that reflect some
combos
fall
going.
action.
Yeah.
It's been the buzz of the town because nothing really important has happened with the Bills unless you count the offensive and defensive kind of masterclass that they put on against the Miami Dolphins. Just a tremendous performance overall on both sides of the ball. You did a tremendous video breaking down what the Bills defense did to confuse Tua Tagovailoa from a coverage and front perspective. If you folks haven't checked out that video, get at it immediately to see what the Bills did on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to be talking about a couple pieces defensively with some film tonight, but a lot of this episode, Eric, is going to be focused on what the Bills did offensively. They were surgical, they were precise, they were purposeful. And again, overall, just a tremendous game and performance from this Buffalo Bills team against a kind of darling favorite in the NFL world and the Miami Dolphins coming into that week 4.
Yeah, this game at home brought out the best in this team. They rose to the competition, and man, they big brothered the Dolphins. I mean, Josh Allen obviously always owns the Dolphins, as you can see. I mean, he has 5 Offensive Player of the Week awards, and what is it, against all of the Dolphins games? Like, I swear, he dominates the Dolphins.
He balls out every time.
Balls out, right? And so, it's great to hear, a big win by a lot of points. But it's one of those things like, hey, I was worried last week because I felt like they were giving them so much respect. And I was worried. I was like, I hope they don't put them on a pedestal. Boy, they didn't. They beat them down. And on both sides of the ball, as you said, we're going to talk a little bit about the defense, but mostly about the offense, just to kind of balance the content on the network. But the attention to detail on both sides of the ball, as you'll see with the film that we show you, was just phenomenal. And it had to be against a team like that with that type of firepower and that type of talent. And again, they just dominated from the beginning. It looked like it was going to be a shootout, but they asserted themselves and kept their foot on the pedal and came out on top big against their division rivals.
Absolutely. I love the thought of not putting them on a pedestal. And then part of me thinks maybe they put them up there just so they could knock them off, and make their fall harder. It was just such a great game plan. And, I'd have thought, I said this on Disguise coverage last night. I felt like a lot of the conversation after the Bills at victory, the conversation was, oh, well, Miami's fraudulent or Miami's not good. And that's not the case. Especially from an offensive perspective, the Dolphins offense is tremendous. It is a really quality unit.
Mm-hmm.
It was just such a great performance from McDermott and the Bills defense that countered what they did and beat them. And then a similar perspective from the Bills offense. Again, Miami's defense isn't on the level that their offense is, but what you got on both sides of the ball, we saw individual execution and strong individual performances. We saw schematic adjustments. We saw chess moves from a structure perspective on both sides of the ball. And again, everything purposeful, precise. There was a method to the madness for everything that they did, from the personnel to the alignment to the timing of things, both sides of the ball. It was just such a well choreographed and well coordinated game plan, structurally and schematically by design. And then the execution from the players, I just came away from this game extremely impressed. I thought the Bills are a tremendous football team, and I have a healthy respect for the Dolphins, but I thought the Bills would win this game. I didn't think it would be, to use your verbiage, I didn't think they would big brother them they did. It was significant. It was a legitimate victory.
And early on, it felt like it was going to be a blow for blow type game, right? But then the defense of the Bills settled in and they played that complementary football, right? The defense settled in, and then the offense just kept the pressure on, and they kept scoring. And that made that Miami offense way more one-dimensional than they are used to being. They're used to having this explosive pass game for sure, but really people sleep on their run game and how they use that motion to set up the run game and get those big plays, which they had a couple chunk plays when it came to run or the pass game. But the pressure that the offense put on the Dolphins to be perfect every drive, it really helped the Bills defense once they settled in. But even on those first 2 drives, I talked about it in that video I did. Even on those first 2 drives, when the Dolphins did score, there were opportunities where the Bills just missed out on
Yep.
or here or there when their game plan and strategy was working, but Terrell Bernard was not able to bring the interception. Trey White also almost had an interception later in the game. Like there were some near turnover plays, some near big plays for the Bills defense, even when the Dolphins were moving the ball and getting some of those opportunistic looks with their offense.
Yeah, Daquan Jones, bears down on 2 on 3rd down, but 2 was able to shake him and scramble for like a half yard more than like the 3rd and 3 was required there, and like just barely gets it. And that's what was frustrating me early on, because the Bills, like, it's not like Miami just marched down the field at will. Like, they were making plays happen, but the Bills, like exactly like you said, they were so close and so close. And then as the game went on, those puzzle pieces just kind of started to fit into one another. And again, especially defensively, the way the coverage started working with the pass rush, it was such a good, I know I tweeted some stuff about it, and I know you and I both kind of echoed similar sentiments.
Yeah.
Shocking with how this game was such a good representation and microcosm of your pass rush working in tandem with your coverage. And because it wasn't just like, well, the Bills pass rush is getting in a second and a half and making things hard on 2. It was like, no, they would take away his first read. Sometimes he would go from his first to his second and it still wasn't there, and it would let the pass rush get home. Sometimes it was just enough to take away that first read, and they were doing it by mixing up coverages, mixing up calls, mixing up their fronts. The 5-man pressures worked again, some simulateds and creepers again. Sean McDermott continuing to find success with the pressure package. And again, the takeaway, like, this was such a strong performance from the Bills defense. It doesn't mean that Miami's offense was fraudulent and terrible. That's still a top tier unit. Yeah. It just speaks to how good this Bills defense is and how good Sean McDermott was with this game plan.
Yeah, McDermott, the attention to detail was just out of this world. There's always that conversation about how a team or a defensive or offensive unit takes on the personality of their coach, right? There's always that conversation. And when you look at the McDermott defense through the first 4 weeks this year versus any of the other seasons under Leslie Frazier, again, a very good coach for many years for the Bills and the defense that he put on the field, you can just see the mentality difference between Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott just from watching the team on the field. And don't even just take it from us. Like, watch some of the national media talk about Sean McDermott's defense. Watch Louis Riddick post video clips of the Bills defense. Just look at the speed and aggressiveness and freedom that these guys are playing with under McDermott. But yet, when you watch y'all 22 with us in the film room, pay attention to the, communication. Pay attention to, hey, in this game, you'll see it when Tyreek motions or they do that short burst motion. You see the defense communicating, but you're also seeing them damn near call out plays. These guys were prepared. They understood formations, personnel groupings, where the ball is likely to go based on this or that, something we know really well from doing some studies behind the scenes. But I just felt that attention to detail has showed up. And there's another thing I want to talk about when it comes to this defense, Ant, because so often we talk about this defense being coverage-wise a vision-based system where they're getting to areas, but they're not just spot dropping. They're getting to their zones, but they're playing the guys in those zones or coming through those zones. Under McDermott this year, and you'll see it when we get to the interception on Hyde, and when we talk about Bernard on that play, it was almost as if they were playing more of a man match type defense, a man match zone. So more of a zone-based scheme, but they're matching up to a guy in that area, right? And kind of closing him down or choking that route down. And in this game, it was really important because, Anthony, as we talked about leading into this game, Tua is so good with his eyes. He's so good at lying to you with his eyes, looking one direction and then just coming back in the other direction over the middle and hitting guys. And the Bills, because of that mentality of not keeping their eyes on the QB the entire time and playing the man, more of a zone match, man type mentality, I felt like that worked to their advantage because Tua wasn't able to lie to them.
That's a very good point. And it's funny too, like we keep having these discussions like week after week of like little tweaks and differences we see schematically from opponent to opponent. And what we saw against Washington the previous week was just tremendous communication on the defensive side of the ball, passing off routes and knowing, okay, he's leaving my zone. He goes to you. I pick up this other guy, just fluid transitions, passing off players and locking down within your zone. different type of mentality, like you said, and from a game plan perspective, which is also challenging because it's not easy to like match, whether you want to talk about straight up man or like more of a man match, zone match piece, like against Tyreek Hill and against Jalen Waddle, against these players. Like that's a hard thing to execute, let alone with what Tua does. But it fit in exactly to your point. Like we talked about in last week's episode, Tua is so adept at, he looks to the flat to make you think, oh, I'm going to the flat. And then in the blink of an eye, he's hitting right behind you in some slant route or, a snag route is coming right behind you. And their ability to, like you broke down in that video, confuse him, but just more importantly, like add beats to his drop back, make him hold the ball, make him have to go from 1 to 2 or 1 to 2 to 3. And because the Bills pass rush has been so good, if you got to get to 2, there's a chance that somebody's bearing down on you. And we saw that consistently from this Bills defense. And again, just a ridiculous performance. And on the year, like after that performance against the Dolphins, you look at what the Bills have done. The Bills coverage unit, they're second in EPA per play on defense, in a good way, like allowing negative 0.36 EPA per play. They're second in terms of the lowest QB rating against. They're first in interceptions, almost triple the amount of passing touchdowns allowed. They're third in pressure percentage. They're first in sack percentage. They're third in stuff percentage as a run defense. And this comes against a quality unit in Miami. And if we really want to take it back, everybody was knocking Sam Howell in Washington. Look what they did this past week against a quality defense in Philadelphia. And you look what happened with the Bills against them. It's just what they continue to do and how they get teams out of their comfort zone and out of the levels in which they want to live. And Erik, the time to throw piece for Tua was a huge piece coming in. Everybody talking about that quick release and, and it's kind of known, right? The rhythm of the Miami Dolphins offense, the timing of all of it. And it's by design, and Tua functions so high within it. The Bills were able to impact that significantly. And it was a kind of a major domino piece in terms of the success they had against that Miami offense.
Especially when we're talking QB hits, pressures, and sacks, 4 of them, 4 sacks in this game. So in the first 3 weeks, you can see Tua was getting rid of the ball in 2.28 seconds on average time to throw. A snap to attempt was 2.23, which was ridiculous. But, we talked about it. Everyone's talked about, while that is really low and quick, he's still able to throw the ball into that intermediate area because of the speed of his weapons. But you can see in week 4 against the Bills, I mean, he was actually throwing the ball, average time to throw at 2.59 seconds, 2.38 snap to attempt. So it was a thing coming into this game. Hey, you got to get him somehow to hold on to the ball, right? You got to get him to hold it so that you can get pressure on him. And the Bills, I thought, did a great job of that. And you can see that in some of the numbers when it comes to, again, 2.59 seconds right here for Tua, average time to throw, 2.38 for snap to attempt. So while that seems like a minor difference, it actually is huge when you're considering, again, the speed of those guys on offense and the accuracy of Tua. And, the other thing that's talked about is the first read stuff. Like 80% of his passes were first read throws coming into this game. Against the Bills, it was 50%. Like they got him to move on past that first read, have to go to number 2, number 3, and work through those progressions consistently. They taxed him like the Dolphins taxed Josh Allen last year, early in the year. And they taxed him, got him to hold on to the ball. He made some mistakes by not pulling the trigger sometimes. He turned it over. The Bills were able to hit him, 9 times, 4 sacks. They did a great job of taking away that first read and forcing him to work through everything when he wanted to, when there were opportunities underneath to throw it short, Anthony, he didn't take it because, again, the pressure of the Bills offense of scoring. So he was looking down the field like he had been all year.
Yeah. And it worked against him in this game. And Erik, you had a great point earlier talking about the pre-snap communication. We've seen it a lot this year from this Bills defense, but in this game against Miami, I think I've made the comment here on the show too, like especially Terrell Bernard, like looking like an air traffic controller out there in the middle. But you see it on so many. You got like literally like tons of reps. You got Hyde and Taron Johnson and Bernard and Milano, and everybody's calling and checking based on how Miami comes out of the snap, and then Miami motions, and you see more communication. And with how Miami uses motion to catch defenses off guard and make them have to adjust in real time as the snap is happening, that combined with all of your pre-snap communication defensively, it can be very easily to like kind of put yourself into a paralysis by analysis situation where you're trying to key into so many things and everybody's trying to call something out. It's very easy to not be on the same page or call out the wrong thing and actually be fooled. The fact that they were so on point with their post-snap execution and processing again speaks to how well prepared they were for this game from a scouting perspective, a diagnosing perspective, and kudos to the players again for executing that. But it really, again, like we can't say it enough, starts with Sean McDermott and the game plan they had and how prepared this team was. There was no panic and on any snap. It was just like, oh, here comes this, like, and it wasn't just like they're lining up like this, or here's the motion, like, hey, we have to do this, we have to do this. It was like, no, here comes this thing. Does everybody see it? Oh, we all see it. Cool. Here comes the snap. We got 4 heat-seeking missiles going to the ball, and we're all just flying to the football, and somebody's getting rocked. And the physicality, I think, too, like my favorite snap, it's either the fumble or when Milano picks A-Chain's leg in the hole. But Bernard comes flying up, funnels the back to Milano. Milano crushes the back. And then Alec Ingold led the play around the outside, and Dane Jackson comes up and just bodies Alec Ingold and puts him to the turf.
Yeah.
And it happens all like simultaneously. Like as the back cuts in to avoid Bernard flying up and Milano hits him, Dane clocks Ingold. It's just like all three.
And then Floyd boxes the play. Yes. We're going to break this play. Floyd boxes it in with that wide alignment. And I think, was that the one Rousseau was in at D tackle on that play?
I can't remember. There's so many good
We're going to get to it. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But it's all just like, everything was
that's
like
what I'm saying.
Violent and clean and fast.
The mentality is different, right? It's not passive. It's not sit back and shells. It's come downhill, hit people, smack them in their mouth, win the trenches. As you said, even the secondary is coming up and making those big hits. And Dane Jackson against a fullback, I just love the direction of this defense. And they're a lot more aggressive, not just in their nature of, again, coming downhill, making those tackles and suffocating and just choking things out near the line of scrimmage. But again, in coverage, they're showing that in coverage as well. They're not giving them the space to operate. They're taking away all the air out of it. And it's showing up, again, at every level. First level, second level, third level. It's been so much fun to watch. And one guy that's really been one of the MVPs of the first quarter of this season is Matt Milano, right? Matt Milano, we could not go into this film room without at least covering some of his film, because this dude, we talk about the first read stuff. He was one of the main guys taking away that first read, usually Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, forcing Tua to move on. And that's when those mistakes and Tua holding onto the ball really showed up. But Matt Milano was flying all over the place, Anthony. And so we want to start off with his film, obviously, and kind of get to some of the stuff that he did, but not just in the passing game, but also in the run game.
Yeah, it's nice to see him stacking together another year, an all-pro season last year, and how he's continued to play this year. Now he's starting to get that recognition on a national scale. This one is real pretty. Like, you see the athleticism, you see that heat-seeking missile type of nature that he's always played with in his game as he flows across the top here. And even just, again, like the way he brings down A-Chain, just scoops that leg and yanks him, brings him down hard.
Aggressive, man. I'm telling you.
Like everything, even on this where like, again, he's not getting his full body into A-Chain, but it's still a hard, aggressive play, and let alone what leads to it from the rest of the supporting cast here. Like, it's just, he finishes it. I love how Taryn, takes the angle to make A-Chain have to fit up into that alley, and then Milano closes it down. Like, this is just a good example. Right? Yes, like he gets that outside shoulder on Ingold. A-Chain has to take this alley because of how Taryn Johnson plays it. And so from A-Chain's perspective, like as he's running there, he doesn't even see Milano. Like Milano is hidden behind all the trash. And then A-Chain actually makes a good cut, and Milano just fluidly scoops that ankle or picks that leg, whatever verbiage you want to use, and A-Chain just goes down so hard. Oh.
Yeah, and this is actually the play. If you guys watch Rousseau, this is where Rousseau gets hurt. He gets stepped on by Ed Oliver. That's a foot injury here. He gets stepped down right there, and that's where he got injured. But you see they do get the edge. Taryn does a great job of boxing. But I talked about complementary football. Again, we're going to use it all season long. Bernard, he makes a lot of plays in the backfield or near the line of scrimmage. And sometimes what he does is he undercuts, right? He undercuts this and tries shooting the back door because he knows that this guy's going to come out here, but he gets picked off. And that's going to happen time to time. It happens to Milano sometimes, but more times than not, those guys are making those tackle for losses. But he shoots a back door here. He gets cut off. And as you said, it kind of gets muddy here because of Ed Oliver and Rousseau hitting each other. But the read by Milano of, having to stay over the top, not get caught in traffic, that's one of the top jobs for a linebacker, is reading what's unfolding in front of him. And he's able to just scrape down, stay out of that traffic and make that tackle. This is just phenomenal linebacker play. Again, complementing each other so well. A great read from Milano, a great read of not just the flow of the ball and where the ball's going, the play concept, but reading Bernard and realizing, oh, he's getting caught in traffic. I need to replace him over the top and fill in the alley. Just awesome work on that play. And we saw it again near the end of the first half, 3rd-and-1 situation here, right? And this is the fumble play, and we talked about that communication.
Bernard,
look at the communication. Look,
he's on the. So you get that Bernard's on the runway.
He's on it. He's definitely in control, and they obviously are changing the structure of this defense because of the motion or shift there. There's obviously 2 running backs in the backfield, so they go ahead and get set, and then there's another motion. It doesn't matter. Look at the play by these guys on the front side of this. We talked about Floyd. We talked about Taron Johnson, Bernard, and Matt Milano. Watch everything unfold here. So now, wide alignment from Floyd right here. Wide alignment there. Usually with that type of alignment from a wide receiver, you're getting that crack, crack toss type play. This is a similar play, but now that receiver, because of the wide alignment, is executing a base block. He's trying to seal Leonard Floyd in, and Floyd's not having it. He
jacks him right back.
Yeah, he's boxing in, just like you saw Taron Johnson do here. And so now you have the alley player. Here comes Bernard. He's coming downhill. He trips him up. But watch Milano, guys. Watch Milano. Again, shoot the back door here. He sees an area right here as this guy's scooping to the next level. He sees this right here. Rousseau is blowing up this guy, this defensive offensive lineman, blows him up. Milano sees that clear gap and then goes and creates that fumble. The dude is just a monster. I don't know how, but every single year he elevates his play. And right now he's playing his best football under Sean McDermott.
Absolutely. Like this, McDermott's under Frazier, Milano's still like, he had that disruptor type of role. He was that chaos creator. He was shooting gaps and coming forward, but again, we're 4 games in, but Milano is arguably like the biggest benefactor of the Sean McDermott style of defense. Like even if you think about it too, like Eric, you and like everybody, watching and playing with us at home, imagine like how perfect Matt Milano would fit in with those Philadelphia Eagles defenses or those Carolina Panther defenses, like with his style of play. And it's just like his aggressiveness, his quickness, his mentality, his burst, how he shoots gaps and how smart he is. It fits so well with how McDermott structures his defense. And I love this play, especially with how it pairs with the previous play before. Like last time we had Bernard kind of undercutting and Milano scraping over the top. And Eric, like you pointed out, you get the opposite basically. Like this time, Bernard flows over the top, gets into the alley. Milano shoots underneath. They continue to play so well in tandem with one another.
Yeah.
But the common theme is the aggressiveness and the quickness and how physical they come flying up. Like Milano makes this play. Yes.
And the thing I love about this too is watch the motion by Ingold. And what was the tendency coming into this game with Ingold, Anthony? What was the tendency that we found on film when it came to that fullback?
Usually where Alec Ingold goes, the ball follows. And then especially with any type of short motion, burst motion, orbit, anything, if he goes in motion like he does here, the ball is following him like 85, 80% of the time.
So I want you to watch how the defense adjusts to that motion by Ingold. Look at them. You see Bernard, these guys are all out here. Again, creating that box and forcing that run, even with all that speed by Mostert and HN. Like they're forcing them to come back inside. You're not getting outside. They say, you're going to cut up inside right into all of our pursuit. And then we're going to have our guys like Milano from the backside pursuing. And we talk about population to the ball. The Bills did a great job of that. They were on another level when you talk about play speed, and you see it on a play like this.
Absolutely. Everybody swarming to the football, that rallying and tackling. And it's not even just rallying and tackling. It's like rallying, coming to the tackle point with like bad intentions and just physical and Bernard comes flying up, so Mostert has to put his foot in the ground hard. Milano comes flying up, and it's just like a perfect form tackle, gets his hand right on the ball, and then combined with the physicality, like that's what jars the ball loose. Like, because Milano comes flying up, Bernard comes flying up, and their play at the tackle point generates the turnover, but that doesn't happen without Floyd boxing in and making a really good play by pushing the wide receiver back into the offensive lineman and cutting off that outside. So Mostert has to cut inside. And then Erik, if we go to the other end zone angle, would just want to show it real quick one time, just to shout out Dane Jackson, just absolutely bodying Ingold. Like, as Ingold comes in motion, here comes Dane Jackson on the outside. Oh,
right here.
Just bang. Like, everybody
again
is
taking the fight, right?
business.
Taking the fight to them. Like Rousseau. Watch Rousseau right here. Watch him take the fight to that guy. Again, that's that pursuit from the backside that is needed on these type of plays. Dane Jackson blowing up the fullback. Again, setting the tone. It's something that we saw from this defense early on, and we even saw from the offense. We'll get to that eventually, but they were just playing with a different mentality. And so I want to move on to the interception here from Micah Hyde. I'll let it roll. It's a pass down the seam over the top to Robbie Chosen. That's intercepted by Micah Hyde. But again, Matt Milano being the focus of this play and his ability to take away this play. So watch, here's that short motion right here. Watch how everyone communicates. Hey, what's happening? And one thing I did notice is when this motion was happening, these linebackers, especially in the slots versus Hill and Waddle, they weren't staying at depth. They weren't. They were coming downhill. They're kind of cheating up a little bit so they could take away that space. And you see that here from Milano, because Tua takes this all day if Hill is able to beat Milano. And typically, Hill has beaten a lot of those guys in the slot when you're talking linebackers or nickels. And so usually this is his first read. He usually wants to get it to him, but Milano's aggressive. He takes away that space, takes away that air out of that route. So Tua has to immediately move on. And now he's looking down the seam. And right here on the play that they threw it to Mostert, it was a little high. It was nearly intercepted. Bernard wasn't dropping like this. And you know, on this play, he does. He gets depth. And honestly, I think Tua caught him off guard on this. And in the last second, he is trying to, you know, aim small, miss small, but it sails over the top of Chosen right into Hyde's hands. But again, getting him off his first read is really was, you know, at the crux of this play and this turnover.
I've seen it so much, even going back to last year. Like, they run all these variations, like, out of that motion look with, you know, some kind of like seam wheel combo. They'll run it with 3 routes with the seam wheel flat or seam wheel slide route type piece. And they just hit it, like you said, like over and over. Like, Tyreek usually finds a way to beat whoever it is. And again, it's understandable. Like, Hill is so dynamic and so electric, and in that type of space, it's hard. And you can follow Tua's eyes right there. Like, he's looking and he's expecting to get it right to Hill like he does all the time. Milano cuts it off, reroutes Tyreek Hill. So Tua's like, okay, I'm going to have to go over here to my left. Bernard is IDing the route. And then even actually where you have it freeze framed right here, you can just see Taron Johnson's hand in the frame there. Even Taron Johnson's positioning is helping to kind of squeeze Chosen a little bit. So it's not like, okay, if I'm Tua, let me put it more on the back shoulder and away from Bernard. Because if you do that, Taron Johnson has his eyes right on Tua right now too. So Taron Johnson can make a play if it's thrown too far to the back. Tua can't throw it too far inside because Bernard is going to have positioning. So like you said, he tries to put it where he can and sails it right to Hyde. Micah Hyde is, you know, the benefactor on this play, but it's a result of several like little dominoes all leading to this one big culmination in the interception. And it's because of the call, the design, the individual execution, and how that pairs with throwing Tua and this Miami offense out of rhythm in a way that defenses hadn't done prior to this week.
Right. And I talked about that man match type mentality, like a zone man. I know it's kind of confusing, but it's a zone-based system. But then they're matching the men that are coming through the area. For example, Bernard on the seam here is a different mentality where instead of Bernard, as he's dropping to his depth, instead of just keeping his eyes on Tua and getting to his depth, what is he doing? He's taking a quick peek at Tua. He's taking a quick peek at the nearest receiver in the area. Look at it. See those, 2 times, I'd say 1, 2. And he's like, okay, that guy's going vertical, and I'm just going to stick with him. He's not looking at Tua, because if he was, maybe if he's looking at Tua, maybe he drifts a little this way because he sees Tua first read over there, right? He doesn't. He immediately gets to his depth, makes that throw a lot more difficult than it should be. And again, the ball ends up in Micah Hyde's hands. Another one of those guys with Milano, Bernard that are just instinctual and always around the ball, Johnny on the spot. Like those guys make those plays. I just love the team defense on that. And Milano taking away that first read, Bernard carrying it up the seam, Taron Johnson squeezing it a little bit himself. And then also Micah Hyde just being Johnny on the spot on the back end for that interception. You're on mute, brother.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't even know how I did that. I didn't even click it. If you compare that with Bernard's interception the prior week against Washington, what did we talk about, Eric, when we broke that down? He's dropping, but he's just reading the eyes of Sam Howell. It's a different responsibility. It's a different way that he gets to the ball. So again, speaking to that point of a different type of coverage game plan in this week with more of that match principle and Bernard seeing the receiver matching his route and carrying him instead of just dropping to space, reading the quarterback and letting his eyes take him to the play. Both are a good play by Terrell Bernard. One results in an interception directly to him. One helps create one for Micah Hyde the week after, but different ways of attacking different offenses, which makes sense because Tua and Howell, Washington and Miami, two completely different offenses. Thus, you would attack them differently.
Right. And so this is an incomplete pass later in the game, a 2nd and 6 situation. And I wanted to show this play because once again, short motion right here, this time by Smythe, the tight end. Tyreek Hill's in the slot to the top of the screen. And he has Dane Jackson on him. And look where Tua is looking immediately. Right to Hill. Hill doesn't get out of his break. He's almost thinking too much. Like, get into your route stem. He doesn't. And Dane Jackson just simply waits him out and takes it away. So Tua's moving on. And I believe he wants to throw it over the middle on this little angle route right here. But Bernard, again, great communication on this play with Matt Milano. Watch him widen. He overtakes the running back, works over the top, squeezes him right there. Milano's kind of that rat defender, that underneath defender, as the Bills are in man coverage on this play. And even if Achane does want to come over the middle and Tua wants to throw it, Matt Milano's going to be right there. It's kind of that, again, Johnny on the spot right there. And, you know, add in some of that pressure from the Bills up the middle, and it causes Tua to escape the pocket. Want to escape the pocket and move on. And when you get him on the run, he's just not, that's not the quarterback he is. And that ball kind of goes incomplete. So again, team defense. And this was a big play late in the game in the fourth quarter, top of the fourth quarter, where the Bills, you know, again, this led to a turnover on downs.
Yeah. You started to really see as the game went on, Tua start to, I think, notice the flashes a bit more from the defensive line and get, I don't want to say jittery, but start to look to evade earlier. And when you pair that with his first read being taken away, he, again, like you said, like you start to put him on the run and you put him having to rely on his legs. Like that's not where he lives. That's not his strength. And you highlighted Daquan Jones on this one, who had an absolute monster of a game again, and who is 7th out of 234 qualifying defensive linemen in pass rush productivity this year, which is absolutely nuts to say because what he was brought in to do. You see that flash of him coming through on the inside. Tua was looking to his right. Again, great job by Dane Jackson, manning up on Hill. But you get that flash and that pressure from the inside. Then you get another flash because Ed Oliver bases his route to the QB off of Daquan Jones and flashes coming across the face. You've got group bearing down. It all just combines to make Tua go like, I got to get outside, or I got to try and make something happen with my legs. And that's not going to work against the athleticism that the Bills have on this defensive line. And then you pair that again with what happened from a coverage perspective, and it's just all bad for the Dolphins.
Yeah, you don't want to hold on to the ball and try to make plays outside of structure. That's just not who he is. So this is 3rd and 6. This is the very next play. Again, fourth quarter still. And on this play, for some reason, they want to attack Matt Milano with the running back out of the backfield. I mean, we've seen teams try to do this, and they're unless you're Travis Kelce, no one's really won this against Matt Milano. And so they try attacking Milano with Achane, and Milano once again just shuts it down on this play. And Tua had a good pocket, but there's just nothing there for him on this 3rd down play. Again, going against Matt Milano as a strategy is just not. It's just not smart. Again, it's not smart. It's a low percentage play when you talk about the matchup linebacker that Matt Milano is.
It's a bold decision to attack the all-pro linebacker on the defense, but I respect it. I also respect Erik. We got to stop for a minute.
Yeah.
Arterius came through again. Huge donation to us last week on the show. And he's joined us again for the film room and another very, very, very generous donation. Thank you so much.
Thank
Just
you.
again for being here, supporting us, and the monetary that's thank you so much. That's awesome. And
we're
then
incredibly humbled, honestly, every week from everyone that comes in and watches the show, breaks down film with us, wants to learn from us and add things to the show. And then, when it comes to stuff like this is like incredibly humbling for guys like us.
absolutely to know that, I mean, just to have people like tuning in to value the content and let alone being able to like put up something like this as another added on piece. It's awesome. And then again, the comment too, like, can't wait to watch the rest of this later. Love these breakdowns. Go Bills. We appreciate you stopping by. Like, thank you for popping in, the donation, being here, supporting us. Your donation last week completely flabbergasted us, and we
totally threw us off, right?
Last week I was done. This week I was a little more prepared. Now I'm able to recover a little faster, but that's tremendously generous. Thank you so much. But yeah, I kind of threw me a bit again. I lied. So attacking Matt Milano, again, bold choice. You want to attack Milano, but especially, no disrespect to A-Chain, but like a rookie running back whose routes aren't like his strongest thing. Like, and you want to run this down here. I get it, his speed and the idea of trying to like catch Milano out here, but you're working with less space in the red zone because you're capped at the sideline and with the back of the end zone. You're going up against Milano. It is a rookie running back whose route running isn't necessarily his strongest suit. And this is also kind of a tougher throw. Like, you really have to drop it in the bucket if you're Tua. And at this point, Tua is not in rhythm. Tua is a little flustered based on how the game is going. So it's not an easy throw by any means, let alone with how the game has progressed. And then even if you just look at everything else across the board, the way like the Bills distribute this, you see good communication from Taylor Rapp.
Shutting down the middle, right? Like, Look at them. They're like, okay, Hill's in the slot, right? He's in the slot, and they're taking away. They have two guys essentially. Hey, if he comes over the middle, we got him. If he goes out into the outer perimeter, the outer third on a breaking route, out to the boundary or to the corner, Mike Hyde's got that leverage. Like, this is them shutting down the middle of the field. And like you said, throwing it a low percentage pass to a running back that's really not his strength out to the boundary. Like, that's a win for the Bills defense.
Yeah. You like force. And I guess this like falls into this category because it is like outside, like the hash is more towards the numbers, but that's where you want to make Tua live. You don't want to be able to find those quick, more efficient throws over the middle where he can just be decisive and hit those windows. You want to make him have to throw it farther and more outside. That throw funnels into that type of category and that type of classification. And it's a result, again, of the call, the individual execution, and then the players knowing it and, sniffing it out.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's go on to the next play. This is the last play of the defensive side of the breakdown. One thing that, McDermott did was he doesn't send a lot of blitzes, but when he does send blitzes, you can tell he's scheming them up perfectly and calling them at perfect times. 4th and 6, inside the 10-yard line. Here's a 5-man pressure by the Bills, and it got the Bills a free rusher on this play. The offensive line of the Dolphins, they essentially slide their guys to the right side, and that leaves, with Milano coming, that leaves this tackle in no man's land, kind of like the Milano pressure last week, but that was a creeper pressure where they brought Milano and put that tackle in a bind. This tackle has to squeeze inside. That allows Greg Rousseau to come free with the running back exiting out into a route, and that's how the Bills won this little 2-on-1 on the left tackle.
Yeah, very similar to the play that got AJ Epinesa free off the edge against Washington. Again, just it's such a simplistic design. Like, you're showing 3 to the right now, which is what makes the line slide to the right. It makes Eichenberg slide because they think, okay, like there's 3, let's go match it, and we'll go from there. Eichenberg slides over to the right. Bernard drops. Milano comes. You got a 3-on-2. Put the left tackle in a bind. That's it. He picks his poison. He's going to slide down, take away the inside man like they're taught to do. Groot comes down free and finishes. That's the big point too. Like, Groot just doesn't come down free and Tua makes him miss. Groot comes down. He uses his size and his length to kind of box Tua in and not give him any room to breathe or sidestep or make a move. And yeah, they haven't like blitzed a ton, but Erik, it seems like week after week, we're showing a 5 or a 6-man pressure here in the film room because it works and it creates a free rusher. And when you pair that with the rest of their pressure package,
yeah,
with
right. Well,
yes,
like the Milano Bernard one where Bernard looped and got the sack there. Again,
yes,
the timeliness of it. And again, it's almost like they know the protection and they know how to attack it so much better than what we saw in the last few years.
absolutely. Like they are attacking protection schemes. They're attacking teams' protection rules, knowing that, okay, if we line up in this look pre-snap, here's how they're going to adjust to that. So on the snap, if we change this player here and move this other guy here, we can create a free rusher. And you continue to see it week after week. This isn't anything like crazy, but McDermott continues to push this button and it works week in and week out. And when you pair that with their simulated pressures, their creepers, or showing pressure and dropping out, it's created this pressure look for a team that on the year is only blitzed 11% of the time, which is 31st in the league. So they're not bringing, more than 4 guys a ton, but the creativity with which they do it and when they do it continues to work. And that's it. Like, Erik, it's not necessarily knowing what to do. It's knowing when to do it, like when to push those buttons, when to pull those levers. And at this point through 4 games, Sean McDermott's like almost batting 1,000 with just like his decision-making and the timely nature of his pressure looks. And it just continues to pay dividends for this defense.
No doubt about it. So as we go ahead and get the film loaded for the offensive side of the ball, go ahead and take a listen to this read from Greg and Aaron.
Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One Pass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
No, that's how you guys can help support us. Arterius, he came in here and he's been, very gracious with his monetary donations to us, but this is another way for you guys to help us out. We're a grassroots small media company, and I feel like most of the people, once they sign up and become an insider, they love the Slack channel, especially on game days. You don't have all the hostility that you have on social media, whether it's X or Facebook. It's a tight-knit community that everyone, it's like family. Honestly, it becomes family, and I love the back and forth and the different channels that we have in there. And it's definitely one of the proudest things when we talk about things that we built. That's one of the best things that we have to offer.
Absolutely. Like that community piece in the Slack channel and how representative it is of the fan base and the type of kind of thirst for knowledge that you've created, like with this brand, it's reflected in the Slack channel with the types of conversations, the different threads, the different conversations. Like I'm big into, like, because I do so much with Twitter, but like with Slack, like a lot of the Slack members like DM me and I have like one-off conversations, and they're always just so like rewarding. And then those are the same people we talk about it every time come training camp. Those are the same people who DM and are like, hey, you going to training camp? Because I'm going to do this. And then so-and-so meets up and they're like, hey, Anthony. I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, it's so-and-so. This is my handle on the Slack channel. I'm like, oh, what's up? It's like, here's what my real name is. And it's a super rewarding piece. And the overall sense of community and the lack of toxicity within it is absolutely tremendous. And speaking of toxicity, the Bills offense was toxic for the Miami Dolphins defense as we start to pivot in this episode. We had to get into some of the defensive pieces again for a full, legitimately tremendous breakdown of what the Buffalo Bills defense did to Tua and the Miami Dolphins offense. Go check out the video that Erik put up Monday morning on our Cover One YouTube page. It's got a really fun graphic with a thoughtful emoji that matched with Tua in honor of what the Miami Dolphins did heading into. I had
to put that emoji there just because I'm not a shit talker. I don't talk a lot of smack going into a game, but to see so many fans come into and Dolphins fans were getting at us leading into this game and talking a lot of smack. And, I took most of it. But then when I had the opportunity to come back in a creative way, it wrote itself. Like the thumbnail for that video wrote itself. So yeah, check that out. But I want to flip the script. I want to go to the offensive side of the ball now. And let's start with Ken Dorsey. We'll start at the top. Ken Dorsey and the personnel groupings that we saw in this game, Anthony.
Just leaning into, and I think you would put a tweet out, labeling and highlighting several of the players, but just you're getting Trent Sherfield in the backfield. You're getting Deontay Hardy in the backfield. You're getting just a variety of looks and alignments, let alone the actual passing distribution there and what you're seeing. Ken Dorsey, again, just continuing to lean into these little, again, it's not like, oh man, he's putting, Trent Sherfield in the backfield, on 70% of the snaps. No, it's just these little wrinkles in key situations and in key situational down and distances and moments where it creates a look that a defense is either unprepared for or hasn't seen, or it creates a matchup advantage for the Bills. And this is for the third week in a row where we've continued to see Dorsey. That's the one. Where we've continued to see Dorsey just push these different buttons and lead to a lot of positive, advantageous things for this Bills offense. And, whether it's conceptually or schematically or just these alignment pieces, groupings wise, Dorsey really is firing on all cylinders. And it was, for as tremendous as the Bills' defensive performance was, and it was against Miami, I feel like the offense kind of got overshadowed with it because it seemed like the offensive performance just seemed so easy. It was just ho-hum, touchdown. Yeah. Okay, we move the ball. Oh, field goal. Oh, another touchdown. Touchdown again. Right from the jump with the first drive, they hit the ground running and they fired the entire game.
Yeah, and we're looking at some of the personnel groupings, and I just love the balance between, yes, the personnel that he was using, whether it's 11, 20, 11, 21, 22, but the balance between explosiveness and then the power game, the power complement has just not been there over the years. And when we saw, and we're going to show you, we saw 22 personnel, so 2 running backs, 2 tight ends in empty formations, where everyone's out and it's spread out, just Josh Allen in the backfield. Then we saw the same personnel, 22 personnel, condensed, and then Murray's busting it out for a big run. Again, we're going to show you those things, but right now, the Bills have 11 personnel. They've used 11 personnel, so 1 running back, 1 tight end, 51.8% of the time, 12 personnel, 25% of the time, 21 personnel, 10.7% of the time, and 7.1% of the time against the Dolphins. Now, this is just against the Dolphins, and so we saw a lot more 21, a lot more 22. So we saw Gilliam in there for 21 personnel. For 22 stuff, you had Gilliam and then the 2 tight ends, Knox and Kincaid, and even Morrison sometimes. And I just felt like that is so difficult to prepare for. When you use all the different personnel groups possible, these are all things that the defense has to prepare for.
Yeah, and you're throwing so many groupings at the defense. And exactly to your point, you have to account for it in a variety of ways. And it's not like the Bills were just, throwing shit against the wall and hoping that something sticks. Everything had a plan. Everything had a purpose and a reason behind it. And the Bills were executing. They were creating advantageous looks with it. Even just something as simple as, constantly being able to get Dalton Kincaid matched up in space against Jerome Baker. It's a result of the personnel and the alignment and how they were able to do that consistently. And just overall, how this offense has continued to vary things up week to week based on the game plan, tweaking some things in the run, tweaking some things in the pass. They continue to just operate efficiently, but they also have started to create some explosives in what they've been able to do. Overall in the year, they're 3rd in passing EPA, 2nd in rushing EPA, and 2nd in rush per attempt, or 2nd in EPA per rush attempt, which is just unreal. On the ground or in the air, the Bills have been tremendous. And when you look to what they've done in the air, it starts with Josh Allen as the trigger man. Gabe Davis is having a phenomenal year, but Stefon Diggs really, as you pull that graphic up, just another monster of a season as he and Josh Allen continue to ascend as one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the league.
Right. He's 5th in receptions, 7th in yards, 1st in touchdowns, 8th in yards per route run, 9th in explosive reception rate, 10th in first down rate, no drops, which he had some drop issues last year. We can admit it. He had some drop issues here and there, but he was more of he wasn't a volume guy, but he got a lot of volumes, a lot of targets and receptions, but he did have some drops. And ninth when you come to look at success percentage. So Diggs has been phenomenal to start this season. I mean, arguably the best wide receiver in the game the first quarter of this season. He's arguably established himself, I think, for the first quarter of the season. And I think it starts with Dorsey and putting him in that position to win, to succeed. And the one thing that I noticed was the difference in targets and receptions in that short and intermediate range versus deep. Because in 2022, a lot of his passes were in that deep range. And right now, you can tell that this staff and Diggs and these guys are working to get Diggs the ball in the short and intermediate area as opposed to just deep last year. Because again, I'll bring up the numbers from PFF because a lot of those targets were down the field for Diggs.
Yeah, and it started early on last year, like the deep ball, and from a successful standpoint, the deep ball against the Rams in week 1, the deep ball against the Titans in week 2, and then that just continued. But this year, exactly your point, Erik, you are seeing Stefon Diggs succeed in the short to intermediate, and just the continuous separation, the ability to isolate him in a variety of alignments and against a variety of players and be able to feed those pieces. And, you bring up, there you go, like his target percentage by depth, like look how low his target percentage is for those deep shots. And just look how heavy the volume is from 0 to 19 yards. And then obviously broken up from 0 to 9 and 10 to 19. He is just killing in the intermediate and underneath.
Yeah, and that's really Josh's sweet spot. So you see 0 to 9 yards, target percentage is 44.7%. Medium is 10 to 19 yards, 39.5%. Deep, 20 yards and beyond, 7.9% target percentage. Now, real quick, we'll look at 2022. And this is regular season and postseason. So 47% short, 25%, 25.3% target percentage in the intermediate area. But then deep, look at that, 21.1%.
And for those who don't remember, his target percentage deep this year is about 7.9, like 8%.
That's a big difference, man.
That's a huge drop.
So you're allowing him to win in those short and intermediate areas where you can accentuate that route running and really kind of just highlight it and spotlight it and let him do his work and execute his craft in the areas where Josh needs that separation. So you got to start with Dorsey on that. And again, these are all things that they probably worked on and talked about in the offseason, where you can, again, maximize that route running. And I also like the physicality he's kind of playing with at the top of the routes where he's just throwing guys by. Again, there's a different mentality around this team. And Diggs and Allen have a different look right now. I mean, they have a different look in their eyes. And for all of that nonsense that was talked about this offseason about them and all the supposed friction, these boys are balling.
And imagine how much better they'd be if they didn't hate each other. It would just be
have to see each other every day. It must be awful.
Right? Man, yeah, it's got to be the worst. Then the snaps are showing how bad they are together. Yeah, it's just been, Erik, we talked about it the first training camp we were together on that Sunday of that first week. Diggs was just cooking everyone. He was locked in, laser focused on every single rep. Like even just stretching, he was taking seriously. He took no second off from practice, and that carried through the entire training camp, and it's carried into this season. He's one of the hardest working dudes in the league. Yeah. He is a true professional. He is one of those guys who tries to hone his craft. He is a professional catcher of the football at the wide receiver position, and he puts a ton of work into it. And yeah, just to see him eat with technicality and physicality this year so far is tremendous. Even, when you showed the stats, my favorite piece about what he's done in the intermediate, that 10 to 19 yard range, his yards per reception there are 18.8. So he's like at the top of that. Like he is generating chunk plays in that intermediate and consistently living there, which also, again, pairs well with Josh Allen. And another piece that pairs well with Josh Allen and a lot of quarterbacks, play action. It's something that we wanted more incorporated into this offense, some form or fashion, along with a couple other things that we wanted to see from Ken Dorsey this year. And when you look at this graphic, Erik, that you put together, like just the success that the Bills have seen with play action, especially under center play action. It's just their under center game has been tremendous, but especially from a play action standpoint.
Yeah, according to PFF, Josh, among all quarterbacks with 50% of the snaps, he's only running play action 22.9%. That's ranked 19th, actually, right behind Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, honestly, I'd like to see that number go up, and this is why. So I broke it up. Like, obviously, Josh is really good at play action. He's got, 5 touchdowns or so off of play action altogether. He's really good. He's got really good ratings in pretty much every category, but it's specifically him under center and getting the ball to Diggs and Davis down the field. So look at the under center snaps, guys, for play action for Josh Allen. He's ranked first in EPA per dropback. What's that? That's telling you basically every time he's under center, runs play action, they're adding a point to the scoreboard. Like that's mind blowing. He's ranked fifth in completion percentage at 84.2% while under center. He has a 0% off target rate, which is first. His yards per attempt, which we saw in this game, we're going to get to the film, 17.3 yards per attempt when under center running play action. First in yards, 329 yards. He is second in touchdowns with 2 from under center. He has a 73.7% first down per attempt rate, which is third overall, which is crazy. He's moving the chains basically every time. And then explosive per dropback rate is 36.8%. That's first overall. So he's getting those explosive plays, which I think technically is 16 yards or more in the passing game under center. So while overall we've seen some big plays from Josh Allen and this offense when they run play action, whether it's gun or under center, when you're looking at explosive plays in this offense right now, a lot of that's coming from under center running that play action game.
Yeah, and some of it is due to the nature of play action in general and the under center piece. Some of it is due to, Josh Allen's ability to deceive with, the ball with his dropbacks. He's so good at it. We've highlighted it a bunch. I also think some of it's due to how successful they've been on the ground this year. Like, yes, you don't need to have a good run game to be good with play action, but it helps. You cannot tell me that if you have a good run game, that doesn't influence second level defenders or third level defenders to come up and play that run a little more. And like we talked about, the Bills are second overall on the ground in EPA and second in EPA per rush attempt. So the Bills ground game working in tandem with that under center play action piece. And then Erik, even just from an under center perspective overall, not just play action, the Bills offense is first in under center passing EPA at 19.84. The Vikings are second at 7.67.
There's a gap there.
It's quite a big gap, a little bit. They're first in positive play percentage at 75%, first in QB rating at 152.1, second in completion percentage at 80%, first in yards per attempt at 16.4, and then 2 big ones, no sacks, no interceptions, and the third lowest pressure percentage at 15.8. So whether you're talking about under center straight drop back or the under center play action piece, they are succeeding there overall efficiently, explosively, schematically, and Dorsey continues to lean into it, and it continues to pay dividends. As I've said, pay dividends way more in one episode of this show than I thought I ever would in my life.
Again, I mean, 22.9%. I would bump that up even more. Like, continue to bump that up. Like, be 25 to 27% at the very least. And early on in his career, he was up there up with Brian Daboll. So enough talking. Let's get to the film. Right off the bat, we get that under center play action play, and this is just a ridiculous throw from Josh Allen off of play action. Nice deep drop, incredible athleticism to get this pass off initially, and to get out of that pocket and kind of fade away and make this throw down the field, showing off that arm talent. But the anticipation, Anthony, is just unreal. Turns his back to the defense. Cook tries to get a piece of Long avoids it. And then Josh is going to start to kind of fade away this way. But watch when he releases this ball. Look where right there, he's starting his delivery. Look at Diggs hasn't even made his turn yet. His head's not even snapped around yet. No. And then Josh is able to throw it down there with his big, I mean, just unreal stuff. Not many quarterbacks can show that type of awareness pre to post snap, with him turning his back, the athleticism to essentially backpedal and fade away on this throw away from the pressure, and then throw that frozen rope down the field.
All of those things are hard individually. Like, this would be a hard throw to make just falling away to your left without your momentum carrying you through. Throwing with this level of anticipation, roughly 30 yards downfield. Again, as you highlighted, Diggs is not out of his break when Allen lets the ball go. And not only does it get to Diggs, it gets to Diggs with precision. It is right on the numbers. Boom, Allen lets it go. Diggs just comes out of his break, and that's where you see Diggs locate the football, comes back to it as well to make sure the defender can't make a play. I also like Diggs's route on this piece, gets into his man. And yes, you highlight that as Diggs starts to sell, like that inside, he starts leaning. He's got his eyes inside. The body language says, I'm going inside. And then he just skirt and pops it outside. It's just a nice piece. And especially when you juxtapose it with, Tua at times in this game turned his back to the line of scrimmage. And when he turned back around towards the line, the picture had changed and it caused problems for him. The opposite here on this play, Josh turns his back. It leads to a big positive explosive play downfield. And a lot of it being tied to just the alien nature to Josh Allen. Shout out to Cook, whose pass protection has been better this year. Yeah. This rep, not so much, but he gives the effort. Allen, calm, cool, collected. Okay, cool. I'm just going to move to my left and then fire it downfield with, I don't know, arm talent, arm arrogance, however you want to label it. That's not a normal throw. And Erik, this one's cool because Ken Dorsey sucks because he doesn't know how to use Deontay Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about getting impact from Hardy, even though he's not getting the production. And obviously this play was preying on, the defense here and how the Bills have swung it to Hardy. And yeah, I think it lost 3 yards. Was it against the Commanders or the Raiders? It didn't work.
Yeah.
But they obviously studied the film and they're keying in on. Everyone said, hey, I feel like Dorsey's being too predictable with Hardy. And that's why the defenses are keying in on him. Well, guess what? They used it against him on this play. And it's a similar play that the Bills used against Minnesota, I think Josh's rookie year, where they got Kroom on this little wheel route up the sideline. So what they're doing is trying to show that, hey, we're going to throw this swing. And you're getting, let me start at the beginning, because watch Sherfield, inside leverage by Howard at the top of the screen. Watch how he works to that inside shoulder to pull him. And that pulls Howard to the middle, but more importantly, also gets the attention of that safety and allows this stock block and wheel up the sideline. Like that little detail from Sherfield is what allowed this route to be open from Gabe Davis. So these guys are all keying in on Hardy on that swing route. And this guy, Bethel, he is responsible for anything that goes out and then up the field. So this wheel route from Gabe is actually his responsibility, but that little hesitation cost him. And it's thanks to the big arm of Josh Allen, the rhythm and the throw on a rope to the front of the end zone to Gabe Davis for the touchdown.
How good has Gabe Davis been, like, really the past several years at, like, the deception on these types of plays, on these, like, play action chunk plays or type of misdirection, like, type pieces? I mean, we see it. What was the big touchdown against the Rams in week 1 last year? He's had a couple explosive plays like that too. Just the ability to sell like he's blocking, and he comes out good pacing, good rhythm out of his stance. Exactly like you said, like he's selling that stalk block. Like, look at his form. He's eyeing up Bethel. Like, hey, I'm going to block you. Hey, I'm going to block you. Psych. And he just takes off and bursts out, and it's wide open. This play, again, like, not to continue to bang on that drum, it was so nice to see Dorsey use this kind of against the defense, knowing that, hey, this is what our tendency has been. Hey, we've been too predictable with this. Let's use that predictability and throw the defense for a loop. And Miami gets fooled. And good job by Josh really playing into the whole piece with his body language. Like, he gets perpendicular to the line. He's pointed right at Hardy. He gives the hard shoulder fake and really sells it with the upper body like he's going that way. You even look at, I think it's David Long in the middle from that angle. Watch him go with, exactly right there. Watch him go with Allen. Then it's like, oh, let me go back, because he doesn't know like where the ball is going.
Yeah.
Allen, like that body language piece, let alone the route of Hardy and what Gabe Davis does. It's a really nice piece. And it brings me back to, there was a quote from Dorsey last year. He said, like, a big thing when you call plays is getting everybody to understand the bigger picture for the player, why you're calling it. And sometimes calling a play isn't just for the benefit of that play in the moment. It could lead to something bigger down the line in that game or in another week. And this play is an example of that. Like, this type of look that the Bills had shown previously, they put it on tape and put it on tape. Also, it could have worked a couple times. I know you put out a good tweet that the one opportunity to Hardy would have worked, but there were some missed opportunities in the blocking aspect up front. But you put these looks on tape, defenses know it, and then you flip the script and put it on their head, and you get a wide open Gabe Davis. Really nice play and execution.
Yeah, and they also ran this play, I think it was 2021 against Tampa Bay. I believe it was in the second half to Gabe for an explosive play. So it's definitely been in the arsenal in this offense with Josh Allen. But kudos, again, all the execution's nice, the Bills knew what coverage they're going to be in on that play. So kudos to the staff and scouting staff when it comes to that, because they understood that these wheel routes, like you see here from the slot defender Murray here, these post wheel routes can really put the coverages, the base coverages that Fangio plays, in a bind. So here's one of those plays where, you know, the positioning and the personnel really were, you know, different here for the defense and having to process this. So to the top of the screen, Diggs in the slot, Knox, Sherfield in the backfield with Murray in the slot and Davis to the bottom of the screen. So yes, this is 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, but they're in different positional alignments and a different formation, a 2x2 set, Sherfield in the backfield. And it's important because you're essentially running Murray on this wheel right here to pull that coverage, right? To pull this guy right there that I have circled. You're pulling him out so that you can attack the flats, the hook to curl the flats here. And coincidentally enough, Chubb, the edge rusher, is that flats defender. So as this flats defender carries Murray up the field on that clearing route, Chubb now has to match 3. You have an edge matching a wide receiver. This was planned. This was intentional. Josh on 3rd and 2 or 2nd and 9 hits Sherfield. No, that was 3rd and short.
Yeah,
3rd and 2 here. Yep, 3rd and 2 here. And they are able to pick up the first down. Intentional personnel grouping, formation, knowing what coverage they're going to be in on 3rd and short. And Dorsey and the Bills offense took advantage of it.
I also want to, you know, we highlighted AJ Epinessa's interception in pick 6 against Washington last week. When he dropped off the edge, he wasn't just covering grass, like he was looking and he ID'd that drag route and made a play. Look at Chubb just come off and he's just covering grass. Like he's just dropping.
I mean, look at the spacing, right?
Yeah.
The spacing between him and the other linebacker.
They're both, and at least for the linebacker, like he's trying to flow. He's trying to read the quarterback. He's kind of caught from his pre-snap alignment. Chubb is doing nothing. Like he just drops off and is just there offering you absolutely nothing. And you highlighted all the design pieces, so I don't want to, you know, bang that drum too much. I'm just going to speak on the Josh Allen piece, which is it's 3rd and 2. You have a guy wide open underneath. Find him, hit him early while the defense is still in their drop. Give them more space to work with underneath. This got me very excited because it happened early on in the game. And I was like, oh, he's still being efficient. He's still taking what the defense is giving him. Like that will lead to further success and more explosives as defenses have to start to honor that. And then also, you know, good route by Sherfield coming out of the backfield, real smooth, gets open right away. He recognizes the space that he has and just turns around, hey, feed me. But look at all the space around Sherfield that's created by Murray and Gabe Davis pulling their defenders out. And when you get the ball to your underneath player who's open early in their route while the defenders are still dropping, it gives them opportunity to eat up that space and take advantage. We've seen it several times with James Cook. We see it here with Trent Sherfield, and it's very encouraging to see Allen continuing to take what the defenses are giving to him here. And it's 3rd and 2, but that results in a very good gain for an underneath short throw.
Right. And so now we get into the fun stuff. All right. We get into the fun stuff when we're talking personnel groupings here. Bottom of the first quarter, 4:33 left in the first quarter. 1st and 10 situation. 22 personnel, Anthony, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, Diggs up top, Gilliam in the slot, Kincaid, the 3rd receiver to that trip side, Knox is a solo tight end to the bottom of the screen, Murray in the backfield. Again, heavy formation, heavy personnel grouping. And what are they doing? They're just trying to run a little, you know, pitch and catch to Dawson Knox at the bottom of the screen. And this is one of those plays. We talked about the tone setters on the defensive side of the ball. This really let the Dolphins defense know, hey, we're here for a fight. And Dawson Knox didn't just do this to some backup safety. He did this to Javon Holland.
Holland is awesome.
He's awesome. We gush about him every time the Bills play the Dolphins. He took it to him on this play. Not only did he get the stiff arm here, drop him to the turf, but the finish. He's like, oh, you're on the ground? I'm going to finish you. I'm going to make you feel it. He's going to make you feel it when you hit the ground. I'm going to drop all of my weight on top of you and send that message. Right there, the Dolphins knew they were in for a dogfight.
Absolutely. I love it, like setting the tone. And we saw that kind of like belly flop driving your man into the ground. We see it from Knox here. Osiris Torrance also did it. Deion Dawkins also did it. Like there was a concerted physical message that the Bills wanted to send here. And this is also part of the advantage that you get with Dawson Knox, with his athleticism out in space, like he gets matched with a safety out here. And Holland is awesome, but from a size perspective, he's undersized and he's overmatched by Dawson Knox here. Oh, we got to stop real quick. Brandon's been trying to give us a super chat for a very long time. He's been messaging. He finally figured it out. Brandon, appreciate you trying to troubleshoot it. That's awesome that you stuck at it to try and give us a donation. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here and for the kind words, saying love your guys' content. Also, the $5 chants aren't working. No worries. We appreciate
YouTube. Get on that YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Come on now.
YouTube. You're killing us. But appreciate the $1.99, the kind words, and for being here. And again, for your sticking at it to try and give us a donation. That's awesome, Brandon. We appreciate you. So yeah, great piece here from Knox. What I also want to highlight as well, Erik, if you go to the sideline angle, so we got 22 personnel, but because of the personnel that the Bills have within their 22, it creates those matchup advantages. And if you look at how Miami, granted the Bills don't go to that right side, but how Miami chose to match this, they're in a heavy personnel. Van Ginkel is out there in the slot against Gilliam. If the Bills do want to go to that side, it's advantage Gilliam against Van Ginkel in the route distribution. Baker over Kincaid, we already talked about, that's heavy advantage Kincaid. So because the Bills have been successful running the ball out of these heavier looks, when they
got base D, right?
Exactly. And we talked about it going into the year, like if the Bills live in 12 or 22 or whatever, seeing how defenses choose to play them will dictate, how those groupings get defined. And because the Bills have been successful from a physical nature, and especially in the run out of these quote unquote heavier personnel groupings, when the defenses now choose to match them with base personnel or heavier personnel packages themselves, the Bills can start to take advantage of it in the past like they do here. And yeah, dude on the sideline, like,
Alec
I don't
Anderson.
know. Yeah, just feeling it, like, and this was they wanted this game, and when you see the sideline erupt like that, like, yeah, Boris. Then you got Boris coming down, like, he loved that, like, that's my tight end, my tight end, like, again, tone setter, exactly like you said, like, they came out ready to play.
A couple weeks ago, we had John in here, yards per pass on Twitter, and one thing he stressed in that film room was get it out to the tight ends, get it out to them quickly. Yes. Why? You want these DBs tackling the big guys, make them feel it. And like I said, this to me was a tone setter. I jumped out of my chair when this play happened. So much so the next day, my neighbors, who were about a half an acre away from me, said, "We heard you jump up and start screaming about that play." And I'm like, it was that big of a play when you're talking emotional matchup versus a division rival. Moving on to this play, second down and 1 to go, and it's a 29-yard game from Murray. But once again, Anthony, the same personnel grouping, right? Same thing. Now you have Knox, Kincaid, and Gilliam, Murray, Diggs out wide to the left. Bills love running duo off of this, but it's more of a condensed, heavy set formation here. And Murray shows off his fantastic vision, gets some really nice blocking up the middle on the backside cut by McGovern, but also Torrance, man. Yes. I'll show it from the other angle, but that inside hand right here to clamp down, I think that's Raekwon Davis as that guy's trying to two gap. He just owned him, and then Murray hits the hole with great pace to the line of scrimmage and then burst, makes that guy miss, and he's out the back door for a 29-yard gain.
Yeah, Latavius Murray continuing to show like way more juice in the open field than he has any right to. Awesome to see him work that. And I love for me, it starts with the formational piece. Again, like what I just talked about on the previous play. Now you're in that same personnel grouping. So now you understand why the Dolphins chose to match it with this personnel grouping on defense, because the threat of the run is real because of plays like this. But now, because the Bills are so good in both, looking on these back-to-back plays, we're showing same personnel grouping. Yeah, you just got in the pass, and now you're going to get got in the run. And there you go. You got Baker, you got Long, you got Van Ginkel, but that's what they want on the field. And either way, you can create mismatch advantages in the pass game like we just showed on the previous play, or you can still execute here on the run. And yeah, Erik, the interior, like, look at that hand from Torrance. Completely no momentum for Davis. He's got him stonewalled. He's turned him. McGovern is the one I really love too. I'll let you gush about Torrance. I love just McGovern's positioning right off the bat, his hand placement, turns and seals. This is a beautiful thing to see as a running back when you can see the backside of your lineman. You know you're protected and you're clear. Like a runway is just created here between the interior guys. Oh, that's awesome, Carl. Thank you very much for being here. Carl says the $5 works. Keep it up, guys. Always love your stuff. I appreciate you, Carl. You're here all the time. We recognize you regularly. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words to follow it. Eric, there's a multitude of things to like on this play, from the personnel grouping and the alignment, how it paired with the previous play we showed, the blocking up front from the interior, Murray out in space, just another aspect of an offense that defenses have to account for and can easily be put out of position.
And you talked about them playing with that base personnel, those 3 linebackers. Well, you saw as the Bills added gaps over here with these tight ends and fullback, you saw them have to match up with that, right? And so now, instead of just doing a 4-down lineman look with 3 linebackers at the second level, they go to a 5-man odd front. So the thing with that is, well, okay, the Bills are overloading the right side of their formation. So you're going to have that defense have to overload or 2-gap, which is what you saw from this nose tackle here. But the thing is, when you do that, when you play those odd man fronts, once you get past that second level, you see the space that you're getting here. And so once David Long shoots that gap to the backside, he makes this so much easier on the running back and the offensive line. And that's why you're able to get that explosive, because Mitch is able to climb to him, seal him off, and again, just easy positional leverage. And then everyone else seals the gap. And then Murray makes that guy miss, steps over the top of him, 29 yards out of the very same personnel you saw in the previous play. But once again, they're running it up the middle. They're condensing the formation to have that versatility. Is
just a completely different look out of the same personnel grouping, and just to have that variety and that versatility. And again, Eric, that's just one personnel grouping, like, let alone what else they can do. So now imagine like what we talked about earlier when you were leading into what they did formationally against the Dolphins. Think of how you have to prepare if you're an opposing defense, because it's not like, well, okay, when they go in 22, they do this. It's like, oh no, when they go in 22, they could do this, or they could do this, or they could.
They're not as predictable. Yeah.
Nope. And that's just one personnel grouping. Now you have to prepare for all the other personnel groupings as well, let alone the individual talent and execution. It becomes very hard to combat this offense, game plan for them, and try and play them within structure.
All right, back to under center play action to Diggs. 12 personnel. Again, look at the formation, the tight formation, under center. And these type of formations, we talked about it a bunch last year, is when you condense these formations with 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, they got to bring a safety down. And that allows you to get a lot of single high looks, a lot of cover 3 type looks, cover 3, cover 1. And that's not something in prior years the Bills were getting a lot of. They weren't able to dictate single high coverages. They were seeing a lot of 2 high shells. Well, you get under center, you throw a little different formation and personnel in there, you're getting those 3 deep looks. And now you're able to run that play action, get that second level to come downhill, or at the very least, stop their feet. But then you're getting the chasm behind them in front of the safety, inside of the corners. You get a nice route from Diggs on this. Watch how his alignment's inside the numbers. Watch him attack the outside leverage by the corner, push him outside more. So this corner has to maintain that leverage as he's getting into his drop. And then it's just too easy. It's too easy over the middle for 16 yards to Stefon Diggs.
Poor Cater Kohu just was put in hell this whole game, matched up against Stefon Diggs. Here he is again against him. I love your point there with Diggs. That was, my 2 big takeaways for this are that second level, honoring the run action and the space that it creates. And then, Stefon Diggs pushing the outside. Kohu has to honor it. Like, he has to respect that initial attack from Diggs, and Diggs uses it just to open him up and make him more vulnerable inside. And then Allen hits it. Again, I'm going to continue to, because I love the run game and how it continues to connect, I'm going to continue to bang the drum that because the Bills' run game has been successful, that's why you're seeing more commitment from second-level defenders. And again, as we continue to talk about personnel, look at the personnel that is on the field for the Miami Dolphins. The front that they have, you've got 2 traditional linebackers, again, like on that second level, what they continue to do. And then they walk that safety down because of the threat of the run, because of the potential of the run. So then you show play action, it just sucks those defenders in even more. And when you bring that extra defender around the line of scrimmage or in the box like Javon Holland on this play, when they commit, you've got 8 guys in the box and they're all coming forward. Now there's only 3 on the back end. There's so much space to work with. And for a receiver like Stefon Diggs, who is so adept at exploiting any type of space you give him, that's a problem. And that's part of the reason why the Bills have been so successful with this under center play action piece, because of how teams have to honor their initial look. It creates so much space when they run the play action piece.
All right, let's get to one of our segments from our sponsors. This one is called our Real Estate Rewind. This is sponsored by Jonathan Miller of Metro Roberts Realty. So he chose this personally. He chose this play to Stefon Diggs, short motion over the middle of the field, a little quasi scramble drill, outside of structure play from Josh Allen. Diggs adjusts from this end zone angle. Watch him adjust this route, and Josh is able to come downhill and find Diggs for the touchdown.
Similar to how we continue to see like certain pressure package pieces crop up every week for the Bills defense, it seems like every week we continue to see a successful Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen play out of structure and off script and like that scramble drill type of mentality. I love Diggs coming across on the drag route. You can see him ID David Long. He sees where Long is sitting. And as you go slow-mo here, yep. So he looks and he sees Allen start to evade. There, he IDs Long and is like, oh, let me just bend it behind him, throw my hand up, and Allen puts it right on him. But my favorite piece, and Eric, I know you posted it on Twitter, this is a drive concept. If Allen is able to sit in the pocket, Long jumps Diggs, and Allen should be able to hit Kincaid. So either way, this play could have worked if Allen gets the protection and doesn't evade. He does evade, has to make a play with his legs. Him and Diggs create something out of off script and out of structure, so it works there as well. But the initial piece could have worked as well.
Right, and on the other side, you get that, again, that post wheel with the running back into the flats, kind of like the Sherfield play, kind of like the combination on the Davis touchdown. And yes, that drive concept, they're purposely putting Diggs on this shallow crossing route to catch the attention of this linebacker. They want him to come up and drive on the drive concept. He's going to get into that window, and then you're going to sneak Kincaid behind it for a touchdown. This would be a touchdown if Josh Allen's in structure, within the concept of the play. That's a touchdown for Kincaid. But you can't get mad at Josh Allen for doing this, because he sees that pressure with that nice spin move by the edge rusher. And, he kind of looks like he's going to go fast out here, but no, he's like, no, I'm not going to get out there. I'm going to step back into the pocket, get his eyes downfield. Diggs does a great job of adjusting and, getting upfield for the touchdown. Just great work all around. From the top, if this is an actual play within structure, that's a touchdown. This goes out of, again, quasi out of structure, Josh Allen type of out of structure here from the pocket and extending from the pocket, and you still get a touchdown. So this is one of those plays. Again, this was going to work either way. And it's another one of those plays that highlights how well this staff had the Fangio defense scouted out. Like, they did a great job of scheming plays in the red zone, but also outside the red zone. They knew a lot of the rules and responsibilities of the coverages of the Dolphins. And we gushed about Fangio all offseason and how the Dolphins brought in a very good defensive coordinator, pretty much in many circles, one of the top coordinators still out there. They got to do something different. They got to do something different, because Josh Allen, every time he's played Fangio in that defense, he eats. So they're gonna have to do something different. This game plan didn't work. They have to go back to the drawing board. And so we wanted to show you this play that, yes, even in structure, this would have worked. Outside of structure, this worked. And that's why we named this our Real Estate Rewind, sponsored by Jonathan Miller of Metro Roberts Realty.
Absolutely. And it's so, like, how do you defend that? Like, if it's in structure, you lose. Out of structure, you lose. This is kind of the beauty of Ken Dorsey firing on all cylinders, and then the alien creation nature of Josh Allen. It kind of makes them indefensible as an offense. And that Real Estate Rewind piece, of course, is possible because of our partner here, real estate agent Jonathan Miller at Metro Roberts Realty. We talk about all the time the technology that we use on this show. I mean, you're looking at it right here with one of the program pieces we use with Huddle to break down tape. Jonathan Miller does that when it comes to trying to sell your home faster with what he does with technology. Professional photographs, a 3D virtual tour, drone photos, videos, all included with each listing at no extra charge. He works with buyers and sellers in all price ranges, donates a portion of his commission from each sale to rescue an animal. We have his contact information in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. So again, if you are in the area, call up Jonathan Miller if you're trying to buy or sell, and get at it. And then mention to him that he picked a great play for the Real Estate Rewind in this week's episode.
No doubt about it, man. Awesome stuff. That was, one of Diggs's 3 touchdowns on this game.
Yes. And someone said in the chat that Diggs got fined $6,000 for throwing the ball into the stands, which is ridiculous.
I mean, isn't that common? Like when you throw the football into the stands, don't you have to pay for it? I think that's like common. I imagine.
But $6,000?
It's excessive. It's excessive, but maybe you could have hurt someone, Anthony. You could have hurt someone.
That's fair. Yeah, you throw it really hard, it just hits somebody. You know what? That would happen in today's day and age. Like, someone would get hit with the ball and like try and sue.
If anything, he might have gotten fined for not wearing the socks. That's something I mentioned. And on this play, I mean, I like the look, man. I personally, when I played, I hated the socks that we had, and they weren't top-notch socks. Like they're a thick, like wool material, heavy, and as running backs, I don't like stuff on my legs or my feet, right? And so I hated wearing these type of socks that they're kind of mandated to wear. And you see Diggs on this play, he doesn't have it. This is the Dorsey getting Diggs one-on-one, motion across the formation, going right at Cater, the corner again. But more importantly, who's not in the play over the top? Javon Holland. So you're getting Diggs one-on-one from under center, play action pass. Really nice. I'd say it's almost like a double move. I think some teams call it like a squirrel. You're running like a double move, like you're running an out, then you're getting vertical, then you're snapping it off at the boundary. Just great work from Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs. Great effort. When this play happened, Anthony, I'm like, oh no, did he push off?
Yeah.
Like, did he get a little too physical at the top? But just great work. Under center play action. Again, look at all the space that they have. These guys are all occupied. You get the one-on-ones outside and anticipation again from the right hash. I mean, look when he's throwing it. Diggs is still running outfield. He hasn't snapped around yet. As soon as he breaks it off, the ball's on him when that maximum separation happens. And then he just grinds. He just works. And watch the sideline of the Dolphins react to this from the end zone angle. This was incredible. This was really big too, right, Ant? Right before half, 3:12 left in the first half. Really, really big play from Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs.
Yeah, this kind of like took their soul on this play. Real quick, I want to bring the comment from Pops, who said in the 90s, Thurman Thomas got fined $100 for throwing a ball into the crowd. And then he says inflation? question mark. I like that. Well done, Pops. Look at whoever is in the all black next to Tyreek Hill. Watch him just drop his head as Diggs comes out of the tackle right here. Just
all the hands up, like in their face. Oh boy.
Dude, that's a gut punch. Like it's understandable that if he routes you up and gets the completion, but you got two guys right there and neither of them could bring him down. This play was eerily reminiscent to the Juju Smith-Schuster touchdown against the Bills last year in the regular season. Bills ended up going on to win that game though, unlike Miami in this one. And again, under center piece creates a single high look. When you have that single high look, you are going to have one-on-one opportunities on the outside. And when you have arguably the best wide receiver in the game, that's going to be a problem. And when you have arguably the best wide receiver in the game matched up, no disrespect, against Cater Kohu, like you're just going to continue to spam that matchup. And then you add in the Josh Allen piece and throwing the distance downfield from this is almost a far hash throw to the opposite sideline, and he throws it with anticipation. He throws it on a line, and he throws it with placement. And you have that. You have the concept that creates the one-on-one. You have the tremendous wide receiver who eats up the corner with just, again, this is like the one where Kohu's just in hell. Like, where do I go? Oh, he's going over the top. Oh, I'm lost. Okay, cool. Let me come up and try and make the tackle. I think I got him. I don't got him. Just, there's so many things that make this play work, from the uniqueness of Allen and his strengths and skill set to the same thing for Stefon Diggs, but to the initial grouping personnel under center piece and the opportunity that it creates for these players to win. This is how you set your players up for success. And then the Bills have the talent that can do it. Save a whale rider running back whose name I love. He comments all the time on this guy's coverage. I absolutely love it. He says, I thought the same. This was coming back. This was an amazing play. And thanks for the great work, guys. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words. And yeah, when you, especially from the broadcast angle, Diggs was so open that my thought was, he probably pushed off. And no, he just, man, I just feel so bad for Kohu. Like, I just feel so bad.
And watch, we talked about make him feel it and finish plays. Watch Torrance right here, just drop his weight on top of that guy. And again, we talk about it, under center play action, really nice pocket. And the guys, the thing about play action, guys, is it's selling run. So it's meant to get the offensive linemen on those pass rushers, on those defensive linemen quickly. So it allows them to engage quickly. And some of the pass blockers for the Bills, they're better in that capacity. They want to get up on the guy. They want to use their ability to anchor McGovern, Torrance, and that power to finish near the line of scrimmage. So running play action gets the offensive lineman on the D lineman quicker. It eats up moves. It doesn't allow the pass rusher to dictate the play here. And so you get that, and you're able to finish near the line of scrimmage. You get these nice deep pockets. And then if you give Josh Allen time, we talked about it last week. If you give Josh Allen time, even if there's only 2 guys in routes down the field, if you give him enough time, he's going to find those guys, whether he's in structure or out of structure. And it just plays to his strengths when you're talking about his athleticism and his big arm and his ability to throw the ball anywhere on the field, given a play action pocket like that.
Yeah, if you give him that time with his cannon and his release, like, he's going to make you pay. And also, one last thing, you called out the socks for Diggs. I really hate that he doesn't put his mouthpiece in ever. It drives me nuts. I don't know how it doesn't distract him. Like, it's never in, which also, like, my other point is, why even have the mouthpiece? It's not college. You're not mandated. Why even have it? Like, if we ever get Stefon Diggs in the film room, that is 1,000% the first question I am asking, because it drives me insane.
On to this play, 1st and 10 situation, 12 personnel, motion, under center, another play action pass. It's one that they typically like to throw to Dawson Knox. This one, they're trying to get it to Kincaid, but this is a little more outside of structure. But this is the dimension that James Cook adds to this offense, right, Anthony? You know, Josh Allen extends a play and hits him down the field. But there's so much to like about this play. So you have that motion from Sherfield, and the Bills were basically spamming the Dolphins on this play. This is a speed motion that they use a bunch for Tyreek Hill to get him on the outside, on the perimeter, to run either this route right here or just down the field or even the post. We saw it last year where he ran that against Taron Johnson. But so they're spamming the Dolphins on this play. But I really like how Josh is able to manipulate that pocket, you know, with some pressure in his face, with an exotic, more, I don't say exotic. It's not a normal type pass protection with Mitch Morse kind of popping out and spinning out like that. But it is one that the Bills have run. It's one that the Bills brought over when Dable was here. But Josh's ability to, avoid this pressure and then make something out of nothing was huge. This was a 48-yard gain to James Cook down the sideline outside of structure.
Yeah, this, like you said, there is so much to like. And I love what Morse does here. Like, again, not a normal ask for a center. You know, he sells that outside zone piece initially with his step and then peels back. And he gets put into a disadvantageous situation where he's kind of the nail and Chubb is coming down full speed from depth, being the hammer, and he gets into Morse's chest. But watch Morse anchor. Like, he gets driven back a little bit, but he gets those feet in the ground. He arches and he stalemates him and drives him back. And Allen senses that pressure. But then Allen's able to gather himself because Morse anchors. And then Allen's like, okay, I see that space like you highlighted there. Yeah. Let me step off and run to the right. Now, David Long, who you highlighted, he gets put into that bind because Allen takes off. Long steps up thinking, okay, the ball is coming out right now. And like you said, the James Cook piece, his feel for space, he sees Long come up and he's like, oh, I'm just going to go to where all the green grass is. And he just goes right up the sideline. And you see it from the sideline angle. Here comes Long as Allen takes up. And Cook is like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to go vertically. And then Allen, like, what a beautiful teardrop little floater, like a point guard driving the lane. You
Right.
see that space. Actually, even if you wanted to, like Long is kind of put in a bind here
He's
too.
in a
Like,
bind. Yeah.
yeah. Like if everyone wanted, he could have gone to the right and dropped it over on the inside to Dawson Knox. So this is Allen again creating a play out of structure, putting the defense in a bind. Great job by Cook. I hate that Dawson Knox doesn't get the block there.
I
This should have been a
know.
touchdown. This is such a stupid thing to nitpick. I immediately thought touchdown. Like I could, and I also think too, maybe like, did he think he was going to get called for a penalty? So he's like, no, I don't want to like touch him. I
Yeah,
really
you
want
got to
him-
run some interference there, even if it's just like getting ahead of him and kind of butt blocking him, with his back and just kind of walling him off. Like
Yep.
you want to see him do that. But we like David Long, the linebacker. But great hustle from him. But yeah, I would have liked to see Knox get up ahead of him. I bet you he would tell you the same thing, right, in the film room if you were watching this again.
Yeah, this is one I think like Boris is showing and be like, I would show this one right after his angry run earlier and be like, what the hell are you doing on this one? Also
bring him back down to earth.
Right. Yeah. Just to humble him real quick. Also on this one too, like not to knock him again, Javon Holland is this deep player and Cook puts a move on him and Holland just tries to go for like a punch to try and punch the ball out, but he's left grasping like for nothing. Cook just simply just goes by him and Holland gets put out. And again, you don't see that often. Like Javon Holland is, I don't want to say eraser because it's already a big gain on this play, but he's usually shuts those big gains down on the back end. He'll force that guy out of bounds or make the tackle. Cook makes him miss in space. But again, so a funny spam design initially, but then the creation out of structure along with some uniqueness and some skill set pieces leads to a big play.
All right. And talk about big play. Talk about tremendous route running from Stefon Diggs on this play. This is our easy loan auto sales, making it look easy. Diggs made this route look easy. And Dorsey preyed again on this defense, one that has seen a lot of the Bills play action and RPO game. Just look at the route to the bottom of the screen. I mean, I don't even know what to call that. I just know it's nasty. I just know it's nasty. And again, I talk about, the Bills running these type of plays because in the red zone, we've seen it over the years, right, Anthony? We've broken it down several times where you're getting this motion from Diggs. And typically the Bills just like running this slant route, especially when you have the middle of the field open on this cover zero look. This is an easy slant for a touchdown. Usually it's a 5-yard slant, glance route. Davis, Diggs, we see it like 5 or 6 times for touchdowns every single year.
Yep.
And it happens against the Dolphins a bunch, happens against the Patriots a bunch. And on this play, that's what they're preying on. And it's a really nice play action pass, no help over the middle. So this DB is like, you know what? Middle of the field's open. I can't get beat. And I've seen this play before. We've studied it, I'm sure. And it's usually that in breaking route. Well, just that one step right there. That's all it takes. That's all it takes from the near hash throw from Josh Allen. It's an easy pitch and catch for the touchdown, which is why we're calling this our easy loan auto sales, making it look easy. Play of the game, route of the game. It's just straight nastiness from Stefon Diggs.
Absolutely. But you don't get any nastiness with Easy Loan auto sales because regardless of your credit situation, Easy Loan can help you get behind the wheel and on the road to better credit. All their vehicles include a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty, and with 3 convenient locations in Buffalo, Lockport, and Niagara Falls, they can get you driving today. Go to easyloanauto.com to start your accelerated approval. We also have the link in the episode show notes. And Eric, you hit it on this play, like with sometimes it's out of an RPO piece or just run action in general. Like the Bills love this glance route and it's set up for it based on how Miami is aligned. And here is Diggs and Allen and Ken Dorsey using that. Again, look at, that's a perfect freeze frame. Yeah. Look at Kohu. Like he's jumping that because he's like, oh, here comes the slant or here comes the glance. He plants that back foot and he goes forward and just gets completely caught out. And it's such a simple move from Diggs because Diggs knows that space is open. He knows that Kohu is vulnerable there. So all he has to do, he doesn't have to commit too hard. He just has to sell it a little bit. And then he gets Kohu to overcommit and do the rest of the work for him. And it creates that space. Again, another situation where you have a one-on-one. And then Eric, the other highlighted piece. I think people might see this and just because you're focused on Diggs, it's like, oh, like, who's there next to Dawkins? Is it, Kincaid or Knox? Nope. Right. It's another 6 offensive lineman set with David Edwards, who continues to work well. He got called for a really horrible penalty this game. Awful. These sets with him have really worked. His athleticism, his knowledge of that Cromer system. But like you have highlighted there, you've got 6 offensive linemen that combined with the success the Bills have had on the ground, is going to make defenses have to honor it with these kind of looks. And what do you got? You have an 8-man box. That is a heavy, heavy box, which is also helpful in the red zone where you have condensed space. And if there's more defenders around the line of scrimmage, there's more areas for your receivers and pass catching threats to work in space beyond that second level. So Miami comes with this 8-man box because of the personnel and the threat potentially of the run that the Bills have had. A lot of things working together with one another to create the success on this play.
Right. And, we're having a lot of comments about how the Bills, again, have run that out of their RPO and run action game. It's just something that we've broken it down so many times over the years, and how the Bills love to attack it over the middle. And so, this was definitely built on top of that. And, I was, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no, they didn't just do that. They did not just do that. Right. It was awesome to see, because it just showed how much the staff was in tune to not just the Fangio defense, but what the defense is studying. It's so nice and refreshing to see that, hey, they understand that the defense is usually seeing this, and we're gonna play on top of that. We're gonna build on top of that. And this is another one of those type of concepts. This is Josh Allen's run for a touchdown towards the end of the game. This is that dart run. Usually it's run out counter bash, which we'll talk about. But this is another one that the Bills actually ran this same play against the Dolphins in the playoffs last year. On that play, James Cook took this route right here, or this right here. He took that for a touchdown out wide, right? And
he beat Baker on it. Baker hesitated a little bit with the mesh action in the backfield, and it just gave Cook that entire outside angle.
So typically Josh is reading that defender, and prior to coming to the line of scrimmage, you're going to see Josh call the alert. You'll see him call the alert because he knows he has man coverage. This is something I broke down with Isaiah McKenzie a couple years ago, where, you can use the coverage that the defense is in against them to get advantageous leverage or numbers advantage in the run game. So on the snap, typically Josh is reading that conflict defender on the edge, number 43. And typically if that guy comes downhill, Josh during the mesh is going to give, and James Cook's going to walk in because there's no contain there, right, Anthony? And you're seeing Dawkins pull from the backside. Usually you're getting two pullers here. And if that guy stays out wide like he does here, Josh is going to keep it like he does. But then Josh has, two blockers pulling. He's going to have the left guard and left tackle. Well, this one is just Q dart, where Dawkins is pulling. But because the Dolphins are in man coverage, Knox runs his guy off. So that guy runs off with him. This guy is in man coverage on Cook. So he obviously comes inside a little bit with that action from Cook. And that allows Dawkins to get the positional leverage on him quite easily. I mean, these are the type of design runs for Josh Allen that we want to see. The dude walks in untouched, and then he gives it to the crowd and the Miami Dolphin fans in particular, and the Dolphins team with that, again, that emoji to again, seal this game. This is in the fourth quarter, top of the fourth. The game is over after this run.
Yeah, this ices it and kind of puts the final nail in the Dolphins coffin or casket on this one. I love the callback. I love when this play worked against Miami in the playoffs last year, because it just highlighted the threat of, James Cook's speed. If you make that second level hesitate a little bit, they're going to get beat. I also just like it conceptually. Dart worked really well for the Bills last year, especially in that Week 15 Saturday night game against Miami. They iced the game by running Dart I think 3 or 4 plays in a row, and 5 out of 6 with Devin Singletary using both Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins as that, tackle wrap player and fitting in different spots. So I like that they're finding success with another variation of a run, going back to a concept that worked well for them last year. But Eric, you hit everything on the head, with this one, what Allen is reading and how the defense gets caught in a bind. The defense almost blocks themselves on this play. Dawkins has to do so little. He wraps and just puts his one hand on Baker and then just kind of stands there because he doesn't have to do anything, because Baker took himself out of the play. And then Knox takes his man out of the play. Brown just comes out and has to make contact on Chubb, stays in between Chubb and Josh Allen. And then you've got Torrance on the inside, sealing Christian Wilkins. and it's over like this. And now this is another element, Erik, once they start to build. We've seen success in the red zone from a traditional run game sense. The Latavius Murray, Damian Harris, James Cook got a touchdown in this one. We've seen traditional low red zone success on the ground for the Bills. We know that they can have success in the pass in the red zone. Now they're throwing the Allen run game piece in. They're starting to become really indefensible in the red zone. And Erik, here you go. You pulled it up. This is their touchdown last year. It was the Landon Roberts. It wasn't Baker last year. This is the touchdown in the playoffs last year in the wild card round. Melvin Ingram comes crashing down. So Allen gives the ball to Cook instead of keeping it. Roberts hesitates just a little bit, and he gets beat right around the yard, around the edge by Cook.
Yeah, and this is this season. Same look. That guy stays out wide. Again, I don't know if Josh is truly reading that guy just because of the alert call, but just again, if you can figure out coverages, what they're going to play on the back, and especially man coverage, because you can manipulate guys like you see Knox running his guy up. That move by Cook going out wide, his guy's going to follow him. That allows
like what they
Dawkins.
did. It makes you think too when the big Allen keeper run against the Jets last year, because they ID'd that man coverage on third down. They send Singletary in motion, pull a defender, and then take it right to the nub side into the boundary.
Yeah, this was some fun film on both sides of the ball. And we got to see both staffs be on their A game. We got to see all the players be on their A game. It's very, I'm excited. I'm also, I don't want to peak too soon.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to peak too soon. So that's always in the back of my mind. But when it comes to film, this was some fun film to break down because there's so many positives and everyone was on their A game.
It took we talk about all the time of like how in the losses, it usually takes more time to watch the tape because you're trying to like problem solve. But there was so much tape to watch in this one because there were so many good things and so many things to diagnose and break down. And it's funny that you said what you just said, because I thought the same thing. We spoke last week so much about, you're setting the foundation and little by little and you build. And everything that they did in this game, I was like, did they show too much? Like, did we see too many of the cool things? Should they have kept some of them in there, in the back pocket or in the holster a little bit more going forward? But, just looking at it in a vacuum, this was a game that easily the game of the week, one of the games of the year. And no matter what you think of the Broncos defense, Miami came off a game where they put up 70 points and completely boat raced the Broncos in every way, shape, and form, offensively, defensively, everything. And you add up that with, the rivalry of the AFC East and Bills Dolphins and that piece coming together again like it did in the 90s with Marino and Kelly and everybody trying to make those connections. Like, this was such a big game for Bills fans, for Dolphins fans, but then in the larger scape or larger
the NFL
scope,
was watching.
Yes, everybody's eyes were on this game, and the Bills came out and completely knocked the crap out of Miami starting early on with plays like Dawson Knox and what the Bills were doing on defense. You saw a poignant, purposeful effort on offense and defense from a game plan perspective, from an execution perspective. It was just a tremendous performance, top to bottom, schematically, individually, talent-wise, like everything, a holistic and complete football game from a very good football team against another very good football team.
Yeah, and I'm excited about, again, the matchup this week. I haven't dove in yet, wrapped up this, and tomorrow I'll start my, pregame research on that. And listen, when I lived on the West Coast in San Diego, I liked 10 a.m. games. I liked it because I get up, the bar's open at 9. I'm going to the bar, drinking with all the Bills backers there in San Diego. And then you watch the game. It's 1 o'clock. You're in San Diego. It's beautiful. Go to the beach, do whatever you want. Your whole day is ahead of you. So I do like the early games, but in the end, overall, I'm a 1 p.m. guy. I like games at 1 p.m. Same. And so, it'll be a different, an adjustment for this game, getting up early, eating breakfast, and then going right into game mode. But I'm excited about the matchup. I think it should be a fun game. Between obviously two talented quarterbacks. And we'll see. We'll see how things go. Hopefully the travel doesn't affect them too much. Von Miller coming back. Rousseau's status uncertain at this point. So there's a lot to talk about. And like I said, I'm just starting off. So we appreciate everyone coming in to the film room tonight. Stay tuned for Cover One Buffalo. But for us in the film room, we're turning the page. This is us turning the page, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I've started to dive into some of the Jags tape and prep for disguise coverage last night. And like you said, it's going to be a fun game. Like just what the Jags can be offensively with Doug Peterson as their head coach and what he's done in turning that team around and the weapons that they have. And Trevor Lawrence is legitimately like a very fun quarterback who was looking to ascend this year, but the Jags have been sluggish and disjointed to start the year. The Jags, Josh Allen is tied for first in sacks. Like they're doing a lot of fun things schematically. They love to blitz and create a bunch of different looks on known passing downs and situations. I hate the 9:30 start, and I hate that it's overseas. I hate all these stupid variables. I hate that I got to wake up that early. It's throwing off my whole routine. I'm like a curmudgeon when it comes to like my Sunday routine. Like I'm annoyed. I am, and because I'm so superstitious, like I don't like the travel piece and the overseas aspect. But from a pure football perspective, yeah, it should be a fun and exciting game. And as we move forward and start to turn the page, if you're looking for some insight into the Jags schematically and more breakdown matchup pieces, give Erik a follow on the Cover One handle there. You see it right below his name there at Cover and the number one. You can also give his personal handle and account as well. You get extra tape there at Erik J. Turner. Follow me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2 underscores ANT. We'll be diving into more schematic pieces when it comes to Bills, Jags, in terms of, everything that we're finding in the tape as we go further and forward in this week. But that'll do it for us here in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. And Erik, it was a great episode. Tons to break down, I should say, after a very strong performance from this Bills team, and one that hopefully leads to bigger and better things as this season moves forward for this team. Thank you to everyone who joined us on this episode. Yeah, we'll start with the super chats. Arterius, Brandon, Carl, Save a Whale, Rider Running Back. Thank you very much for thank you very much for your presence and for being here. But then the monetary donation on top of it, it's awesome. Thank you to everyone who joined us live in this show. It's awesome to see the live engagement, people tuning in right when we start and then picking up steam as we go. The back and forth conversation with each other, with us, the kind words consistently filtering through. We appreciate the hell out of you folks. If you are still here now watching live, please drop a like on this video. If you are watching later on YouTube, please drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams, and they go a long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. So drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the Cover One Film Room here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel as a whole. We have you covered literally every single day of the week when it comes to Buffalo Bills content in a variety of forms and fashions. If you are listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, please rate and review and subscribe to the Cover One Film Room on those platforms. Thank you to everyone who joined us live, watched later, listened later, whatever have you. We appreciate your support in whatever form or fashion it comes. Word of mouth is also awesome. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about how fantastic the show and the Cover One brand and channel are overall. And Erik, that'll do it for us here in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. Any parting words before we say goodbye to the people?
No, thanks for joining us, guys. Again, very humbling. Everyone's showing up every single week. 200 plus viewers every single week. Obviously, it's very humbling for us. It really is. But as I always say, if you guys keep consuming, we'll keep producing.
Yeah, it's very much a field of dreams. Like if you build it, they will come type of thing. But it's more like if you keep coming back, we'll keep building. So kind of like reverse. But whatever. Appreciate you folks. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Go get a drink and a pee break and circle back for Greg and Aaron at 9:00. But that'll do it for us here in the Cover One Film Room. We'll see you next week live Wednesday, October 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern for another episode of the Cover One Film Room where we break down Bills, Jags. But until then, I'm Anthony Prohaska. That's Erik Turner. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.